Ken Dorsey in 2022 averaged the same amount of points per game as Brian Daboll with the Buffalo Bills in 2021. So we can clearly say there are some statistics here that Ken Dorsey has exceeded Brian Daboll already in his young offensive coordinator career. I think Ken Dorsey already proved himself to be a better coordinator than Brian Daboll. But welcome to my channel here. Bills News Consolidated already mentioned that Ken Dorsey versus Brian Daboll, a clear-cut comparison here. Ken Dorsey, year one as an OC for the Buffalo Bills, already statistically did better than Brian Daboll, who was in year 5 for the Buffalo Bills in 2021. I already mentioned the same amount of points per game at 28.4 points per game for Brian Daboll as well as Ken Dorsey. And it's just a little bit crazy to think that Brian Daboll, in 2021 was with the Bills after 5 seasons. Should have been firing on all cylinders here with Josh Allen, and you have Ken Dorsey come right in, and they average the same amount of points per game. But that's not the only area. Ken Dorsey actually exceeded Brian Daboll in the amount of first down percentage. So Brian Daboll didn't have as high of a first down percentage. So third down to get a first down, Ken Dorsey did 4% better than Brian Daboll during that 2022 season in 2021. So I really think Ken Dorsey here in the Buffalo Bills have really exceeded a lot of areas for Bills Mafia. And another one is the amount of yards per game. Ken Dorsey averaged 407 yards per game, whereas Brian Daboll averaged 397. So we were averaging 10 more yards per game, which isn't much, but it just goes to show you why Ken Dorsey is proving himself to be a great offensive coordinator, proving himself to Sean McDermott, getting the trust from Sean McDermott, allowing him to take over that defensive coordinator position. Hearing McDermott say now he's comfortable enough to know that he's set at other coordinator positions, that he could allocate his time to defensive coordinator. We couldn't do that with Brian Daboll. We couldn't do that with Leslie Frazier, but now he feels comfortable enough. So I think that is something to keep in mind here, that Ken Dorsey's definitely proving himself. Now, the one area that Brian Daboll did better in was scoring more touchdowns, right? So, of course, the Buffalo Bills, we averaged the same amount of points per game, but Brian Daboll did end up scoring more points. Now, the big change here that the Buffalo Bills made was going from an average height of 5'9" in 2022 at the wide receiver position to now being 6 foot. The Buffalo Bills have made dramatic changes at the wide receiver position here for Ken Dorsey, progressing from 2022 to 2023. Buffalo Bills have a lot more height there with Justin Shorter, Trent Sherfield, and Gabe Davis being there, and then as well as the tight end group, bringing in a Dalton Kincaid compared to Quentin Morris, who's only 6'2", Dalton Kincaid at 6'4", almost 6'5", Dawson Knox 6'5". So we clearly got taller, we got more physical on offense, and with the running backs too. Latavius Murray at 6'3", Damian Harris, a more physical style running back. Moving on from Cole Beasley, Isaiah McKenzie, who were both taller than Deonte Harty. Deonte Harty at 5'6" is the shortest wide receiver the Buffalo Bills has ever had here in Buffalo, but he brings a different skill set. So as a whole, as a group, we are taller at 6 foot, but Deonte Harty is the smallest, smurfiest wide receiver that we've had here in Buffalo. And it's really, really important to understand what's going on here with Ken Dorsey, the transition from Ken Dorsey to Brian Daboll, knowing that the Buffalo Bills are more efficient on third downs with Ken Dorsey after 1 year as offensive coordinator, knowing the Buffalo Bills were putting up just as many points per game as Brian Daboll after Daboll was here for 5 seasons. And I think that's something to really keep our eyes on, even having more yards per game than Brian Daboll after 5 seasons. That's just absolutely extraordinary. And you see what's happening. The other stat that a lot of people are missing, Brian Daboll, when the Bills were within 1 score, Brian Daboll was 0-6. We did not win a game when the Buffalo Bills were within one score in the final moments of the game. We could not pull those games out. With Ken Dorsey, the Buffalo Bills are 6-3. So when our backs are up against the wall, right? Crucial moments, third down, having to pick up a first down. Ken Dorsey has ice in his veins, and he's proved it to this offense. Bills are picking up more first downs than Brian Daboll. You know, backs are up against the wall. Game is close within one possession, right? Ken Dorsey has ice in his veins, 6-3. Brian Daboll 0-6. I think that definitely speaks volumes for what Ken Dorsey has already been able to do. Now entering year 2 as offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, knowing exactly how to evolve this offense, and we are evolving it. We've evolved it last year. Becoming more efficient is something what the Buffalo Bills wanted to do. Running the ball a little bit more. Getting a little bit more 12 personnel out there with 2 tight ends, right? And I really think the Buffalo Bills have really started to evolve this offense for the longevity of this team to be a more efficient offense. And now with adding some height to this wide receiver room as well as an additional tight end should allow the Buffalo Bills to actually score more points per game and just shatter what Brian Daboll was ever able to do here in Buffalo. And I know a lot of Bills Mafia says, oh, Brian Daboll is definitely a better offensive coordinator than Ken Dorsey. But the facts are here that Ken Dorsey has literally proved himself. And you could literally say that this is probably the best roster that the Buffalo Bills have had ever since the McDermott era, especially on offense. You know, you got Gabe Davis progressing on the outside, really holding his own last year, almost hitting 1,000 yards receiving, 160 yards away from that, 2 touchdowns away from double-digit receiving touchdowns. And you got Diggs, all these additions with Trent Sherfield, Deontay Hardy, Khalil Shakir progressing from being a rookie, first-round pick on a tight end, Dawson Knox progressing, right? And it's just huge. And then adding all this beef to the offensive line. You know, Connor McGovern, Ryan Bates, Ike Bucker, Osiris Torrance. It's just Edwards. And you got Spencer Brown developing there too. And Deion Dawkins, Mitch Morris. There is just a wealth of talent on this offense for the Buffalo Bills in 2023. You couple that with Ken Dorsey in year 2, only year 2 as offensive coordinator, already doing things better than Ken Dorsey, better than Brian Daboll after 5 seasons. So that's nothing to slouch at, Bills Mafia. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I am going to be driving across country again out west, California, Oregon coast, up to Washington and stuff. So I'm hoping to still send videos every day. Backgrounds are going to look a little different and thumbnails are probably going to be a little scrappy. But I appreciate every single one of you guys. Truly, you all mean the world to me. Bills Mafia, we are the best. Go Bills. Peace.